Okay, so we are going to begin with the first question. You can see over there, create the following function, LCM. You can see there are two parameters, A and B, that will find the LCM of A and B and return it. In the main area, input numbers into a list and find their LCM. So we had learned a technique in the previous assignment where we were finding the largest number among two numbers. What is important is you did that correctly, but some of you forgot how to find the LCM between two numbers. That is what I'm going to discuss. So first, what we are going to do is we are going to discuss how to find the LCM between two numbers. We'll start with the basics. Now suppose I have 4 and 6. What is the LCM? LCM is naturally 12. I believe you know that. Next, we have 3 and 5. Let me take another set of example where both the numbers are prime numbers. In that case, their product is the LCM. So here the LCM is 15, and one of the number may be the LCM of both the numbers. That is, in this case, this is 8. From here, it is quite obvious that LCM lies anywhere between either of the two numbers till the product of the two numbers. So it lies anywhere between either of the two numbers till the product. Within that, you will always get the LCM. For example, 4 and 6. You can always assume that the LCM lies between 4 to 24, because 6 4s are 24. That is the product of 6 and 4. It always lies between that. So 12 lies in between 4 to 24. Similarly, for 3 and 5, I can tell it lies between 3 to 15. So 15 is the LCM. 4 and 8, we can tell it lies between 4 and 32, because 4 8s are 32. So we can tell that the LCM lies anywhere between either of the two numbers. It is always preferable, however, to take the larger number. Among this, that is just the number of steps will get reduced. Otherwise, nothing much over there. 4 and 6, you can always check from 6, which is the greater of these two numbers, till the product of the two numbers. Similarly, out here from 5 to 15, out here from 8 to 32. So that will be, lower the number of steps required to find the LCM between two numbers. That is what we are going to do. No need of doing that. So much we don't require. What is important is finding the LCM. So we can start from either of the two numbers. Of course, if we start the loop from the larger of the two numbers, it's always better, no doubt regarding it. But for timing, let me keep things simple. So how do we find the LCM? So we'll start with this. Define LCM, and here I have two variables, A and B. So now what I am going to do is I am going to run a for loop for I in range, and starting from A, I assume A to be the larger number. Not necessary, maybe even B. And the best method would have been, finding the larger among A and B and starting the loop from there. But it doesn't matter even if you start from A or even if you start from B. For this particular, understanding. So for I in range from A till the product of the two numbers, A into B, since range function will always be 1 less than the last limit. So we are going to write this A into B plus 1. And here what we are going to do is we are going to check whether this I is divisible by both A as well as B or not. If it is divisible by both A and B, that means it's a common multiple for both A and B. However, we don't require the common multiples. What we require is the least common multiples. So I can always tell that the first common multiple that we get, that's the least one. So what we are going to do is, we are going to store the LCM out here. That is, whatever common multiple we get, we store that particular common multiple inside a variable L. Say L is initially 0. And whenever we get a common multiple, I am going to store it over there. And then what I do is, I am going to break. Break indicates that I am going to exit from the loop, because the first common multiple that we get, isn't it the least common multiple? Since that's the least common multiple, we are going to exit from the loop, because L will contain the first common multiple, which obviously is the least common multiple. So here, after exiting from the loop, I am going to return the value of L. So this is the technique of finding the LCM. And in the main area, it's quite obvious, finding the LCM of 10 numbers. So how do we do that? Was it 10 numbers or something else? Input numbers into a list. So there may be any number of numbers. So we can use the eval function, eval, input, enter numbers into a list. And then what we do? We'll start with we'll store the first number. What we can do is we can store the first number indicating the LCM. So I'll take a variable, say L, which is obviously small letter. And here what I do is I store the first number of the list, assuming it to be the LCM of all the numbers over there. So that itself I assume. And now we'll start with a for loop. For I in range, we'll start from 1 till length of L. Why from 1? Because we already took the number at the 0th index. And here what we are going to do, L equal to LCM, L comma L of I. So this is what I am going to do. And ultimately I can display the value of L. I can display the value of L. So this is what I can do at the end of this. So here how these things work, I had already discussed this while we found the largest among two numbers, and then we extended it to find the largest among 10 numbers. So what do we do? What we are going to do is, suppose say for example these are the numbers. This is what we did for finding the largest. Or we are going to apply the same principle for finding the LCM of all this set of numbers. Suppose you have this group of numbers and the function is supposed to find the LCM of only 2 numbers. So how do we do that? We take the first number and store it in L. Next what we do is we are passing L and the next number in the list, that is L and 6. And whatever is the LCM, I am going to store it in L. Next, this L and 12. Again 2 numbers I am passing to the LCM function. And whatever is the LCM, I am storing it in L. Again L and 15, whatever is the LCM, I am storing it in L. Again L and 24, whatever is the LCM, I am storing it in L. So ultimately L will contain the LCM of all the numbers. So this is the technique which we have learned while finding the largest number in the previous assignment, and the same thing is extended for finding the LCM. I believe you have understood this, and you can take a screenshot of this because I am going to go for the next program. Okay, I believe you have done with it. Now we'll start with the next question. So we'll go for the second question. And in the second question, what do we have? Create the following function. And what is the following function? We have is HCF A and B, that will find the HCF of A and B and return it in the main area, input numbers into a list and find their HCF. So the question is exactly same. Only difference is instead of LCM we have HCF. Now we had already learned the formula in our childhood, that is product of the 2 numbers is equal to product of LCM and HCF of the 2 numbers. So we can simply apply that. No need of applying a separate technique. Even if you know, you can apply that, no problem with that. But if you do not know, only if you know how to find the LCM, that will also be good enough to find the HCF. So what we can do is, we know that product of the 2 numbers divided by LCM gives us the HCF. So instead of doing using an altogether different logic, we can simply do this HCF, and here we will divide the product of the 2 numbers by LCM to get the HCF, and rest is all same. So we can simply write this. And this will ultimately give me the HCF between the 2 numbers. So I can simply write HCF. So these 2 questions are quite related and it's easy to understand, because we know that you have to know either of the 2 methods, either finding the LCM or you may know how to find the HCF, either of these 2 techniques. If you know one of them, you will easily be able to do the other. Like in this case, I already did the program for LCM. So we know that the product of the two numbers divided by LCM is going to give me the HCF. So this is what I extended it. And the program, remaining part of the program is exactly same. So this is what we did. Now, what we do is we are going to go to the third question. Now look at the third question. Create the following functions. There are two functions out here in this particular question. You can see over there is unique n. You can see over there n is the argument this function takes. Check whether all digits in the number is unique or not and return true if digits are unique. That is no repetition of digits, otherwise return false. And then we have one more function, sum, with an argument n, returns the sum of the digits in n. In the main area, now look at the main area part. Input numbers into a list and find the sum of the digits of those numbers whose all digits are distinct. That means you are supposed to find and display the sum of the digits of those numbers whose all digits are unique. That is distinct. That means distinct in the sense that there is no repetition over there. So we are going to try this, question number 3. Okay, so we are going to start with question number 3, and out here I'm going to write the first function, that is unique. You can see over there. U is capital and it's a single word, is unique. So we have to write it exactly the way it is given in the question. And then n is taken as an argument or parameter, followed by the colon part. Now what we are going to do is we are going to check whether all digits are different or not. So what is the simplest technique? First, this is an integer, we understand. What we are going to do is we are going to convert this number to a string because it's easier that way. It's far more easier, comparing the characters in a string as compared to, taking it as a number. So what we are going to do is we are going to convert this number to a string first. So str of n. So what I did was I converted the number to a string. So suppose I have something like this 4156. This is a number which is stored in n. What I did is I stored this number 4156 into a string variable s. So you can imagine it to be 4156 like this. Now what we are going to do is we are going to take the first digit and check whether 4 is present among the remaining digits or not. This is what we are going to do. Simple. So that's not the end of the story. We are also going to take the second digit and compare it among the remaining digits. So next time 4156 will take the second digit and compare it with the remaining digits. So this way we are going to take every digit and compare it with the remaining digits. In case there is a match, that means in case a digit is repeating among the digits in the remaining number, that means it isn't unique. That means the digits are repeated. It's not distinct. For example, I can give you an example. Suppose I have something like this 41561. So I convert it to a string s equal to str of n. So what will happen is we are going to get this. Now we take the first digit and compare it with the remaining digits after it. So it's fine, 4 is not there, okay. Next 41561, so this was my string. So I take the second digit and compare it among the digits in the remaining part of that particular number. Is 1 present? Obviously it's present. It is present as the last digit. So therefore we can tell that this particular number is not unique in the sense that all the digits are not distinct. So how do we do this program? We'll start with a for loop. For I in range 0 to len of s. Remember, each character in a string is represented by its index starting from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what we had already learned earlier when we learned string. So every character in a string will be having its own index, and you can use the slice operator to access individual elements. I believe you remember, which we had done earlier. So what we are going to do? Here we are going to check if s of I means s of 0. I'm talking about that particular digit which I marked as arrow. So if this digit is present in the remaining part of the number, that is s of I plus 1. From s of I plus 1 till the end of it, if it is present. So what do I mean by this? Suppose I have 4, 1, 5, 6, 1. So s of I is this, because I is initially 0. In s of I plus 1 colon, that means from index 1, and since I did not mention the end index, I mean all the digits after this. That means from index 1, 2, 3, 4, it is going to check whether s of I is present among all the characters among the remaining indices. If it is present, then what we are going to do? This function is supposed to do what? Return true. So in this case, since it is present, that means it is not unique. So in that case, we are going to return false. This is what we are going to do. So this loop is going to iterate. A time will come. Now, how is it iterating? I'll just explain a little more. Now after this, now 4 is not present over there, so no question of returning false over here. So it will go for the next iteration. In the next iteration, the value of I will be 1. So 4, 1, 5, 6, 1. This is 1. So this is my s of I. And s of I plus 1 means, since I is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So from index 2 till the end, it's going to see all the numbers beyond it. So now, if s of I is present among the remaining number, now you can see that 1 is present among the remaining number. So since it is present, it will return false, indicating that this particular number is not unique. And remember, return means it's not only going to exit from this function, exit from this loop, it's also going to exit from the function. So you need not worry that it's going to come out of the loop and then what do we do? It's going to exit from the function itself. And then what we do is we write the else part. Now remember, this else do not belong to this if. This is the else for the for loop. That means when the for loop completes all its iteration, I believe you remember we have done this earlier, if the for loop completes all its iteration, only then the else part gets executed. So out here, in the midst of this number, in the sense that if there is a digit in the midst of this number which is repeated, it's going to return from there itself. It's going to exit from the function by returning false. In case all the digits are distinct, that means it's going to complete all its iteration and it will definitely come to the else part of the for, and then what we do is we write return true. This is what we are going to do. Now what we do is we go to the second part of the question. In the second part, there is one function called sum n, returns the sum of the digits in n. This is pretty simple. What we are going to do is we are going to extract each digit and find the sum. So sum n, this part is pretty simple. While n greater than 0, extract a digit n modulus 10. I believe you remember s equal to 0, and we are going to find the sum of the digits out here and truncate each of the digits and return the sum of the digit. Return s. So this is what we are going to do. And in the main area, input numbers into a list. From here onwards, I'm writing out here. So what we're going to do is, we are going to input numbers into a list. So we take a variable L, eval, input, enter numbers into a list. You can give a message, and then what we do? Find the sum of the digits of those numbers. So here we are supposed to find the sum of the digits of those numbers whose all digits are unique. So first of all, we are going to check whether it's unique or not. So we'll run a loop to extract each number from the list. So for I in L, here we are going to check if is unique, that's the name of the function, is unique, I equal to true. Then what does it mean? All the digits in that particular number are distinct. So if it is distinct, what am I supposed to do? I am supposed to find the sum of the digits of the number and display it. So I'm going to print it over here, print it. Or you can take it into another variable and do it. What do we do? Okay, we'll take it in another variable and then we'll display. So we'll take the sum s equal to, we'll take the variable, the sum of the digits inside the variable s. So here, whatever is the number which is present in I am finding the sum of the digits by invoking this sum function and storing the sum of the digits in s, and ultimately I am displaying the value of the sum of the digits, that is print s. So this is what we can do. It's that simple. I believe you have understood this. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to go for question 4. In question 4, what is written is, create the following function. Largest, smallest, n. Returns the largest and smallest digit in the integer n. The function should return the largest and smallest digit in a single statement. That is to be noted out there. You are supposed to find the largest and the smallest digit in a single statement. And in the main area, input an integer and display the largest as well as smallest digit. This particular question is related to, those type of functions that returns more than one value. So that is, this question is, assessing your capability of understanding that particular, segment of Python functions. That is returning more than one value from a function. Normally, so far, whatever you have done, you have returned only one value and exited from the function. For the first time, you got a question where you are supposed to return multiple values. So we'll start with this, question 4. So here what we have is largest, smallest. It's a single word. Define largest, smallest, and then we have n as argument or parameter. We will find the largest and smallest. Okay, so what we are going to do is, we are going to find the largest and smallest digit in this particular function called largest, smallest. What we are going to do is, we are going to use the usual method of extracting each digit and finding the largest and smallest digit. So how do we do? We take a variable L which will contain the last digit of the number. So L equal to n modulus 10. Similarly, I take a variable S which will contain again the last digit. Now we'll start extracting each digit. So while n is greater than 0, so we can do that. Extract each digit, n modulus 10. Now we'll check for the largest. So we can check if the digit is greater than L, then L equal to D. Similarly, if the digit is less than S, then S equal to D. And then n equal to n by 10. This is what we can do. And now, after finding the largest and the smallest digit, you can return the value of the largest and smallest digit. So we are returning two values this time. Now, what is mentioned in the question is, in the main area, input an integer and display the largest as well as smallest digit. So here in the main area, input an integer. So I take a variable, say a, and this time I take int because it's mentioned, input an integer. Enter an integer. This is what we can write over here. Okay, and now we are going to find the largest and smallest digit in that particular number. So we'll call that function largest, smallest, and we'll pass a to it. And here the first digit which is being returned, it will come to L, and the second digit will come to the second variable over here, which is obviously first one is largest and the second one is smallest. So it's going to be corresponding value coming in each of this variable. Now we are going to print largest equal to L and smallest equal to S. So we can do that. So that's it. That is how we find the largest and the smallest digit from in a function, and which returns both these digits at one go. That's it. That was question number 4. Now we'll go for question number 5. Now look at question number 5. Question number 5 is similar to question number 4 because even out here you are supposed to return more than one value. Let's go through this question. Is pal prime, that will be the name of the function. Create the following function, is pal prime, with n as argument. Return true, false. That means true or false for palindrome or not palindrome, and true or false for prime or not prime for the integer n. So palindrome, I believe you remember, it reads same from both the sides. That is, take an example, say 121. 121, if you reverse it, you still get it the same number. So those numbers are called palindrome. And prime, I believe you understand, which has only two factors, one in itself. So this is a function where you are supposed to check both palindrome as well as prime. That is prime number. That is what you are supposed to check. And interestingly, what it requires is, in the same function, we are supposed to check prime. So what we are going to do is, we are going to use exactly the same method what we had learned over here. That is, if it is palindrome, we are going to return true. If it is not palindrome, we are going to return false. If it is prime, we are going to return true. If it is not prime, we are going to return false. So all this thing, the returning will be in the same line. So that in the main area, when we input numbers into a list, we can easily check this particular number, whether it is both palindrome as well as prime or not. So how do we do this? See over here. So this is question number 5, which we are trying, is pal prime. N is the number. It's taken as an argument. So first of all, we'll try for palindrome number, see. Or, palindrome number, we can try that. So we take a variable, palindrome, we take a variable r, which is initially 0. So what we do is, we start with a for loop. Or we can use a while loop rather. So while n is greater than 0, extract each digit, d equal to n modulus 10. And remember, what we do is, we need to reverse this particular digit. So what was the technique? R equal to r into 10 plus d. So this is what you're going to do, and followed by n equal to n slash 10. Truncating each digit. Now, the only problem out here is that I need to keep a backup of this number which is stored over there. So I keep a backup of n inside t, because ultimately we need to check this, isn't it? T and n. So this is what we are going to do. So after this, what we do is, if t, where t is the backup of the original number, is equal to the reverse number, so what we do is, we take a variable, say f1, and we initialize true to it. So we'll write true. Otherwise, inside that same variable, I'm going to store false. So this is what I'm going to do. In case it's a palindrome, f1 will be true, and if it is not a palindrome, we are going to store false inside that variable f1. Now we'll go for the prime number. So we'll take a variable c, the usual technique. We'll run a loop for I in range 1 till that number, so n plus 1. I'll check whether it's a factor or not. Oh, since n has already become 0, after you come out of the loop, we'll use t. So here, if t modulus I is equal to 0, what we're going to do? We're going to increase the value of c by 1. So this is what we can do. And now, if c is 2, we can assign once again, just like this. If it is prime number, we are going to store true inside f2. Otherwise, we are going to store false inside f2. Now what we do is, after this, you can imagine it's continuing over here. So return f1 comma f2. So this is what I am writing. So f1 will contain either true, false, either of them, that is either true or false, and similarly f2 will also contain either true or false. So if both f1 and f2 are true, that means it's both palindrome as well as prime. In that case, it's a pal prime number. Now we'll go for the main part. In the main part, what you are supposed to do? In the main part, you are supposed to input numbers into a list. So let's input numbers into a list. We'll use the eval function. Enter numbers into a list. Numbers into a list. And then what do? Find the sum of all pal prime numbers. Okay, they're asking you to find the sum of pal prime numbers. So we'll run a loop extracting each number from the list for I in L. So here we'll check. First of all, we are going to store both these values inside two variables. Say for example, f1 and f2 only we can take. So f1 and f2 is equal to, we'll call this function is pal prime I. So what am I doing? I'm invoking this function and storing these two values inside two variables f1 and f2. And remember, if both f1 and f2, if both of them are true, what does it mean? It's both palindrome as well as prime. In that case, what do? We are supposed to find the sum of the numbers. So s equal to s plus I. This is what we are going to do. Ultimately print the sum. So print s. This is what we are going to do. Pretty simple, I believe. Next, we'll go for question number 6. Now look at question number 6. Create a function named power that accepts two integers as parameters, say a and b, and return a to the power of b. So you can see the second number is being raised to the first number, raised above the first number. So now if the value of b is not passed, it should return the square of a, that is a square. That means this function is related to default argument. That means in case you do not pass a suitable value for b, it's going to find its square. That means the default argument should be 2. So as an example, it's given 5, 3. If you pass 5, 3, it's going to give you 125. If you simply pass 5, since the second parameter or second argument is not given, it will find its square. That is, if you pass 5 to this power function, it's going to find 25. It's going to display or return 25. So this is what we are going to do. So let's try this. That is question number 6. Power, that's the name of the function. And we take two variables a, comma, and b with the default argument b equal to 2. Now, whatever is that, when I tell 5 to the power of 4, what does it mean? It means I have to multiply 5 4 times. 5 into 5 into 5 into 5. So, what we do is, I take a variable, say p, where p is equal to 1. I'm going to store the product inside the variable p. Now, how many times is this 5 getting multiplied? 4 times. So that means I am supposed to multiply this a how many times? B times, because b is the power. So I am going to run a loop for I in range b. So when I tell b, it's going to, this particular loop is going to run for b times. Now what I do is, I'm going to multiply out here the value of a. So that's it. This is what is going to happen. You can, understand. I believe whatever I have written out here on the board, so return p is going to return the product. Now look at the main part. When I call this function this way, that is, say for example, p equal to power 5, 3, and I print the value of p. Here I am not inputting. Of course, I can do that also, but since the main is not mentioned over here, so we are not, that accepts. Yeah, it's not mentioned, so you don't need to worry so much. So power, if I give 5 and print p. Now let's see the difference. What is going to happen? When you call this function, 5 goes to a and 3. This 2 will get replaced with 3 because I am passing an argument for the variable b. In case I don't pass, that is in the second case, it's going to assume the value 2. In this case, since I have passed, what will happen is, it's not going to take this value 2, it's going to take the value 3. Now what is happening? For I in range b, that means for I in range 3. Range 3 means this particular loop is going to run for 3 times, starting from 0, 1 and 2. That is the value of I. However, in this, I am doing nothing with I. I is only to, count how many times this loop is iterating. That in this case, it's going to iterate 3 times because I'm running from 0 to b minus 1, that is 3 minus 1, that is 2. So 0, 1, 2, 3 times it executed. And while executing 3 times, what am I doing? I am multiplying a, that is the first number, that is in this case 5. 5 is getting multiplied 3 times. So return p is ultimately it's going to return the power. Similarly, in the second case, when I write power 5, 5 will go to the variable a, and since I did not pass any value to b, b will assume the value 2, because according to the question you are supposed to find the square of it. Now for I in range this, so what is happening? It's going to find the square of this number and it's going to return, and ultimately I am returning p. So this is going to happen. It's quite simple. Now I'm going to go for the next question. And what is the next question? Write a function func1 such that it can accept a variable length of argument. Now this is a function that accepts a variable length. So some of you will make a mistake of thinking that, since the example shows that there are few numbers separated by comma, you can pass a list to it. No, it's not that. It's only, any number of arguments can be passed, because whenever you pass a list means a group of data enclosed within third bracket, that is square brackets. If you pass a tuple, again a list of data which is enclosed within circular brackets, that is first bracket. So here nothing of that sort is there. Those brackets are of the function. So you cannot mix it up. That means this is a function which accepts a variable length of argument. That means any number of argument, and print all the arguments value. So that means that part is very simple, printing each value. So we are going to check this out. Question number 7. And yeah, it's not mentioned about the mean, though I'll give you an example of this. How do we do that? How do we write the mean also? Define function 1. So what was the name of the function? Func1. Okay. If it is whenever we have variable, number of arguments, so we'll take a star and asterisk before a variable, indicating that this particular argument contains variable number of arguments, any number of arguments, any number of parameters there may be. So now for extracting each of this value, we can use a for loop because it's an iterable. So for I in v, and here I'm going to display each value in v. So print I. It's that simple. Now inside the mean, how do we call it? Inside the mean, we can call it simply you write function as the way they have given the example, 20, 40 and 60. When you pass that, you see 3 arguments, it will go to v, and each one of them will get printed one after the other. You can see it's getting printed in different lines. You can see the question out there. And func2, in that case, what it is going to do, I'm sorry, not func2, func1, but this time I'm passing 80 and 100 out there. So in that case, there are 2 arguments. That is what it wants to be shown out there. We can pass 3 arguments also. We can pass 2 arguments also. Any number of arguments, it's still going to work. Normally, other functions do not work. In other functions, if there are 2 arguments, you need to pass 2 values. If there are 3 arguments, then you need to pass 3 values. Only if it contains, default arguments, some flexibility is allowed. We had seen in the previous case when we did that power function. But, passing variable function, variable number of arguments can only be done when we put an asterisk before a variable. That is what we can do. Now we'll go for the next question, that is the 8th question. The 8th question, what is written is, assign a different name to a function and call it through the new name. Now that's very simple. That's simply another way of calling a function. Below is the function display student name, age. Assign a new name, show name, age to it and call through the new name. So it's already given over there. Define, that's the name of the function, display student name, age, and print name, age, and you can see in the main area display student EMA, 26. You should be able to call the same function using show student name, age. So the same function may be called using a different name. So how do we do this? So we'll write the first part of the question, whatever is given over there. That's question number 8. So here what is written, define display student, what is written, name, age, And here what I am supposed to do is I am supposed to print name comma age. And here in the main area, the indentation indicates that it's in the main area. Display student, I'm calling using MR, that is a string going to the variable called name, and 26 going to the variable called age. So that is what happened. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing by using the function name called show student. So what we do is we can store names, we can refer a particular function with another name. How do we do that? We'll write show student, look at the technique or trick. Show student equal to display student. This is what we are going to write. Show student equal to display student. Now what actually happened is, this is to tell Python that you can access the function called display student with another name, and the name is show student. Now when you call this function, that is show student, I can write it exactly the way I had written out here, but instead of using the display student name, I'm going to use the name show student. See how simple this particular program is, isn't it? Okay, now we'll go for the next question, that is question number 9. In question number 9, write a function isPal that accepts any number of words as parameters and display only the palindrome words. Also include a main to show the implementation. It means that palindrome word, I believe you already know what is the meaning of palindrome word, which reads same from both the sides, from the reverse side as well as from the normal side. So the words like madam, mom, dad, Malayalam, these are all palindrome words. So it accepts any number of arguments. That means once again it belongs to the same category of functions which accepts variable number of arguments. So that is what we are going to do, and also include a main to show the implementation. How do we include a main? In the main we'll pass a different number of arguments to show the implementation, because it accepts variable number of words as parameters. So we'll start with this question number 9. Define isPal, that's the name of the function. Okay, we'll put star w indicating that any number of words may be there. Now what do we do? We'll start with a for loop for I in w. We already know this. Now what we do is we'll find its reverse. I believe you remember how to find the reverse of a string. That is this string I. Or what we can do, the first step is what we can do is we'll convert the word to uppercase, because in that case it is easier for us to check, because the word may be, there may be certain character which is in capital, which may be, lower when we reverse it. So that is why we'll convert the entire string to capital. It's easier for us. I equal to I dot upper. So we are converting the entire string to capital letter. Now what we do is we are going to reverse this I. So R is equal to, how do we write? I, we use the slice operator and with the step as -1. So this is what we can do. Now we'll check whether the reverse string is equal to the original string or not. If it is, then we are going to print the word. That means it's a palindrome word, we are printing that particular word. That's it. It's that simple. Now, in the main part, I'll show the implementation. So in the main part, I'll show the implementation. How do we do that? So we can call it this way, isPal. So we can write mom, dad, brother, sister. We can write it this way. This is one where how many parameters are there? There are 4 parameters over there. And again, I can call this same function using, say, 2 parameters. Say, madam, I, and none. So in this case, there are, 3 parameters over there. So this main is to show that how this particular function works with variable number of arguments. You may pass 4 arguments, you may pass 3 arguments, or any number of arguments, even one argument, it will still work. Okay, I believe you understood this. And now we'll go for the next question, that is question number 10. Look at question number 10. Write a Python program to create a lambda function. This is pretty simple, lambda function. If you have gone through the video, you'll easily be able to understand what's lambda function. So lambda function is simply a very simple method of implementing a function where this kind of function has only a single statement. A lambda function cannot be an alternative to def. In def, usually you have multiple lines out there. Though it has more usage also, but currently you just understand you may have multiple lines in that function. But when it comes to lambda function will have only just a single expression. Do not mix up. So here, what they are asking is write a Python program to create a lambda function that adds 15 to a given number passed in as an argument. Also, create a lambda function that multiplies x with argument y and print the result. So this is what we are going to do. So look at question number 10. We'll do the first one. Say what do we, let's name it as add. Add equal to, so we can take lambda, that's a keyword, please remember, and it takes a single variable as parameter, so that's how we write x, and here we'll write the expression that is add 15 to the given argument, so we'll add 15 to the given argument. So it's that simple, we add 15 to it and it's going to return it to the add function. And also create a lambda function that multiplies, okay, let me name it as mul, because it's going to multiply argument x with argument y and print the result. Okay, so here they are asking me for two parameters x and y, and it's going to multiply x and y and display it. So I have to write print out here. So print x into y. So this is what we are going to do over here. So in the main, how do we write? Look at the implementation part. In the main, add, suppose I write 7. So what it is going to do is, it's going to pass 7 to the variable x, and 15 is getting added to 7, and it's going to display 15 plus 7, that is, it's going to display 22. In the second case, now look at the second case. Out here, you need to have a variable where we are going to store it and then we can print it. What we can do is, we can do it this way also. Print add 7. So this is what we can do. If you feel this to be too complicated, you can write it this way, L equal to add 7, because this 7 plus 15, 22 will be returned, and this return value is getting stored in L and you can print it. Whereas for the second case, since the printing is already happening inside this lambda function, you don't need to invoke the print function. What we can do is, we can directly call mul and then pass any two numbers, say 4 and 5. Please do not call using the print function like we have done it over here or out here. You cannot do that because it's printing out here, it is not returning any value. So 4 goes to x and 5 goes to y, and these two values, that is 4 into 5, gets multiplied and it will get returned. I believe all of you understood how to do these functions. Now you can complete the assignment and you can send it to me as soon as possible.